Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's see if we can actually break my shadow ban. I'm still trying. Might as well. I've got nothing else better to do without a job and all that. So here we are. But I was thinking a little bit more on the whole concept of legacy and building, right? Building legacies and whatnot. I'm always thinking about that every single day. Basically, things that'll make it so that regardless of how little of your own value the world sees when you're alive, they might see it at some point very far down the line. Maybe in 5, 10, 15, 20,000 years, 5 million, or even 5 billion. See, the interesting thing about digital media is that it literally lasts hundreds of times longer than anything else we had before. Like a stone tablet, which was the next longest lived piece of history that we could have. Stone tablets would last about 5,000, 10,000 years. And if you're lucky and you stored it properly, or let's say you had something like Pompeii happen and it was covered in ash, which is basically like a natural version of storage, then your stone tablets might last 100,000 years because they're buried and erosion is prevented. Nevertheless, that still pales in comparison to how long digital media can last if it is properly protected. Now, it's a little bit different if you have a hard drive that's out in outer space, like, say, on the Voyager spacecraft or something, where radiation from stars, cosmic rays, all that stuff can cause random perturbations in the data storage, which will cause it to degrade a little bit faster, but the data still, generally speaking, will last for hundreds of thousands to millions of years without so much degradation that it's no longer usable. It's really quite incredible. Semiconductors and computer technology has just completely opened up the door in ways that we could have never thought possible before. So, what I'm doing right here, right now, let's say after I've passed away in 10,000 years, so long as um, there's a few different ways this can work, but let's say that YouTube actually manages to stay around that long. And we're in completely uncharted territory right now in terms of what we're doing with our technology and our civilization writ large at this point. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility. They'd be the first to have done it, but let's say they actually do survive for 10,000 years and they don't scrub their ancient records, then my videos will be on this platform for that long and beyond. And people living in civilizations of those times, 10,000 years down the future, can come back to my videos. It'll be buried amongst the trillions upon trillions upon trillions of videos on the YouTube platform. And they can say, oh, this guy, this was his perspective way back when, at the beginning of our civilization, when we first developed semiconductor technology. And this guy actually existed. So it's something to think about. It really is. It's timeless in its own way. And looking back on some of the old videos that I had made on my channel, because I'm one of the original posters on this platform. I've been posting for decades. YouTube's been around since 2006. I started in 2010 posting videos. 2006 is actually when I got a profile. So I've been on this platform basically since it started, and it's really quite something. And something else I was thinking about was, like I said in my previous video, a lot of the things that I was talking about earlier on were very banal. They seemed like very basic concepts that everybody should know. But the thing is, if we are at the very beginning of civilization, I know we are, at least for humanity, but let's say the universe writ large, then we're still laying the foundations for everything. So what seems very basic, it hasn't been written in stone yet. We have the 10 Commandments. Those were written in stone, quite literally, 6,000 something years ago. But there's still so many other very basic principles and tenets that have not been. So, while what I was saying before in my previous video seemed banal, it had to be said and codified because no one else has done it. And I might not be very important, but again, if you put it against the backdrop of how I've lived my life, and it ends up where the arc of my life is something to follow, where I could be some type of exemplar, even if the world tries to discard me, then the things that I say might have some profundity. You know, people might look back on me and say, okay, this is how he lived his life, and these were the basic tenets upon which he built his foundation. Maybe I should listen to this guy. Or I screw up, and they say, yeah, I want to stay away from that guy. It's how you are the signal through the noise. We've never had this kind of capacity before. It's absolutely amazing. And as long as you truly are trying to speak and live in truth, no matter how small that little piece of truth is, if you're building upon that path, every little stone that you put in front of yourself, every little stepping stone that you put in front of yourself, is building that path, no matter how small. It's like water on a river, or in a river, right? A single drop of water is not going to do anything to carve a path, but over millions upon millions of years, it can erode mountains. Well, in this case, you're doing the opposite. You're building a path. Yeah, a single stone isn't going to make much of a difference, but over the course of millions of years, you've built an entire pathway for people to follow. It's incredible. It really is. And all of your descendants can add pieces to that. And like I was saying even earlier than this video, if it does end up being where we make it through this great conduit that we're trying to traverse right now, and even a handful of us survive, then a billion years from now, each one of us could have a billion descendants. And even if we don't actually have kids, then there will still be people in the future that, you know, a billion people more for every individual that's living today. So your entire life will no doubt be cataloged and very well known. You will be in history in some way, shape, or form, and in that by itself, your name will never be uttered for the last time, and you will have your own form of eternal life. So they say we die twice. First time is when we physically die. We leave the mortal plane. And the second time is when our name is uttered for the very last time. Now, people will know exactly how I speak, how I say my name, Peyton Pearson, right here. And if they view this video in the future, a billion years from now, and even if they don't say it, it is spoken. So a billion years from now, I'll still be alive. And with the advent of modern artificial intelligence advancements and all that stuff, they could even recreate me in an artificial form. I know that we can use artificial intelligence. We're already doing it today to produce fully formed or pretty close to fully formed consciences based upon people's social media of people who have deceased or who have passed away, right? Using Facebook to model an entire person. The Stefan Molyneux guy that I follow, he has this thing called StephBot. It's an artificial intelligence based upon him and his universally preferable behavior philosophical foundation, and it's pretty decent. You know, it's minimally creative because it can't come up with new ideas. But that's, you know, artificial intelligence in its current form is basically just a giant word guesser. But nevertheless, that's the foundation of what I'm talking about here. We are at that time where we will never die. whether it be through what I just described or through utilizing things like, and this is something that bothers me with Stefan, he doesn't like stem cells. I love them. I think they're fantastic. All right. Or we use stem cells to be able to manufacture bodily organs, right? All you need is the scaffolding of some of the connective tissue and stuff like that. And then you use stem cells, which can be created by your skin cells. They're not hard to make. And you use that to manufacture organs from your own tissue. So if your heart starts to fail, oh, you've got a backup. Just go ahead and replace it. If your lungs start to fail, oh, you've got backups. Go ahead and replace them. Now, if your brain starts to fail, it's a little bit more of a difficult situation. However, let's say you have a car, and the car is 150 years old. And over the course of its lifetime, every single piece has been replaced at some point. Is it the same car? That's not what it's about. All right? What it's about is continuity of existence. All right? So while the car itself, all the pieces aren't the same car that it originally was, excuse me, what you have is continuity of existence. It has existed that entire time. Extant, I believe is the term. Now, our minds are what allow us to form the beings that we are. But there are ways to create brain cells. Our cerebellums do it, especially when we exercise a lot. And you could even use stem cells to keep your mind healthy as it is. There are stories of actual studies, people doing that in the past. One person who was mentally retarded used stem cells, or was in a study where stem cells were used on his mind and artificially boosted his intelligence to that of a genius for a few months. And then the stem cells decayed, because this was way back when, very long time ago, when we were just starting to utilize this technology. And he went back to what he was before. But nevertheless, the proof of concept was there. It worked. So we are at that precipice right now, not only in terms of right about to truly have eternal life, and I know that that's said every generation, but we're actually almost there now because of stem cells. All right? And we are already there in terms of artificial intelligence. But we are at that precipice where right after this point, we're going to live forever. And at that same time, it's lining up very well. The numbers are starting to show that based upon the number of stars we have observed in the universe, it's starting to look ridiculous that we haven't found any intelligent life out there yet. We've searched something like 50 million stars and still see no coherent signals, aside from a few anomalies that were easily explained away. So, either we're going to find out that we're alone in the universe, or we're going to find out that we're not. Either possibility is unfathomably profound. And we are at that point where it will not be able to be denied one way or another in just a couple more years. I've done some mathematical calculations, but just let's say that a civilization utilizes telecommunication technologies for no more than 200 years of its existence. Well, you put that out in a mathematical calculation, let's say you search 50 million stars, then you have about a 5% probability of having still not found a coherent signal at this point in our history. Starting to look kind of strange that we haven't seen anything. But then you go to 100 million, and the probability goes to 1.2 times 10 to the negative 37% chance. In other words, statistically 0% chance. And if we still have not found anything at that point, then we can satisfactorily say that we're alone. So we'll see. We will see. But we're at that point right now. It's pretty cool. So, anyway, that's all I got for you today. Love y'all. Peace. Oh, and like again, like and subscribe if you haven't already.